Carlos Nelson with What's Up Kansas City and Cascade Media Group. And tonight we have a special group that have done a one of a kind, first in the nation. Uh, and we have a special host that I would like to say this is an arts and entertainment segment of What's Up Kansas City. And away we go.
What's up, Kansas City? I want to first start out by thanking you, Carlos, for making this possible, allowing these wonderful artists to come together this way. And I want to thank you, artists, for taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this discussion. Um, Carlos and I had a little bit of a conversation, and one of the things that I felt saddened about, and there was not many in terms of our last effort, was that I don't feel that people really fully understand the impact of what you all accomplished. And I just want to take this moment in time and in history to have a very open conversation with you about the things you've experienced. How did it feel? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome? I want the next wave of artists and creatives that come behind us to understand a little bit about this process that we got involved in. And not many have dubbed it creative placemaking, but it is creative placemaking. And I will be happy as we go along in this conversation to give some insight to that. And after this, I'm going to share some information with each of you about the concept, because it's important to know the anatomy of this wonderful accomplishment that we've all had the honor of taking part in. We have some really accomplished artists in their own right here with us today, willing to share some of their insights and views about what they experienced on their individual sites. And so starting out, I'm going to say, first of all, my name is Michael Toombs. I'm an artist here in Kansas City. I've been doing art at this pace since 1991. I've had to work really hard to accomplish anything in Kansas City as an artist, an African-American artist. And I'm going to talk more about that after I give a chance for my guests to share a little bit about their life stories with each of you. I think I'm going to begin, and I hate to say this, Adrian, but I'm going to pick you because you've been getting picked all night. So I'm going to pick you first. You're in my lineup right after Carlos. And so what I'd like to do is kind of, first of all, I want you to feel welcome to acknowledge anyone who you feel has made it possible for you to be the artist that you are. And then along with that, I'm wanting you to just kind of touch on, we're going to come back and dig in deeper, but I want you to touch on a little bit about what's the most memorable thing you took away from your effort in doing the mural you created. Okay, and tell us where it's located and, school us.
Okay. I'm Adrienne Clayton. My mural's on 18th and Vine. Yeah, if I were going to give honor to anyone, first it would have to be to God, because it's a gift that's been given to me. So I would give him honor first. And then I would have to give homage to my Nana. She was an artist, is an artist. She's still an artist. She's 99.
Wow.
And she and my maternal grandmother are best friends. They started a sewing co-op together in Linwood, out the Linwood, and taught women how to sew, and with my Aunt Cheryl. And so that creativity was cultivated there, just like with sewing. But she was also an artist, so she taught me proper facial proportions, and and she did that with all the grandchildren. But there are just certain grandkids that it sticks. It's like your natural gifting, and so they just kind of grab on. And the way she taught me, I still teach my students.
How old were you when she taught you?
Ooh, I think I might have been 8. I might have been 8. She would make these beautiful watercolor paintings. Her watercolors are so beautiful. But she also created these dolls around the time when Cabbage Patch dolls were out.
Mm-hmm.
She would make these beautiful dolls out of stockings, like you would wear on your legs.
Right.
And then she would hand paint the eyes on, and then she would hand paint her name on the baby's bottom. And then they would sew the clothing, like they would design and sew the clothing. My grandmothers and my aunt could make clothing. They could make their own patterns and then sew the clothing. So I would have to honor them for seeing the gift in me and beginning the process of cultivating it. That was my first teacher. And then I would have to say, being a product of the Kansas City, Missouri School District, I had so many amazing teachers. I loved going to school, from elementary school all the way through high school. I even made a post about it. I had Miss Davis Howlett. She wasn't an art teacher, but she was adamant about us learning about our culture and who we were. And she's the reason why I know every line in the Negro National Anthem by heart. I don't have to read it. I can recite, sing the whole song. And then I had just awesome teachers. I remember Miss Cole, who I think works out in Hickman Mills now. She was an art teacher in a time when the Kansas City, Missouri School District was trying to integrate. You remember the magnet thing? That's when I went to school. So Wendell Phillips under Mr. Gant was in art school. So I didn't just have art, music, and PE, I had dance.
Right.
I was exposed to all the different art types, and I had to audition to get in middle school.
So you had a multi-dimensional approach to creativity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where I had like the Richard Bays and the Betty Hudsons. And then I auditioned for high school. And so then I had all the, local Kansas City artists like Lonnie Powell and Mario Jordan and Anthony Hyde and Kathy Mendenhall and Rusty Newton. And, I remember all of them because they all impacted me in different ways, even if I didn't specifically have them as a teacher. Just their artistry and their being around me and pouring into all of us, was just something that like, you don't forget that, right?
Before you tackle the second part of that question, let me ask Vivian that same question. I mean, she's given us her grandmother. It was your grandmother, right? Adrienne, was it your grandmother then?
The first, yes.
As well as a number of your teachers who saw to your development. And so Vivian, we'll take the second half after, but let's find out more about the people who've impacted your life as well.
Well, it's a lot coming after Adrienne, little old me. I mean, to be perfectly frank, I just started painting about 5 years ago. I didn't have that type of experience although I am also a product of the Kansas City, Missouri School District. I did not have that type of experience artistically with the school district. I always loved art, but I didn't actually start to express artistically until I was an adult. About 5 years ago, I started painting, and that was only because it was always something I wanted to do. I just never did. And one day I got laid off of work from my corporate job. They were downsized everything. I actually used to do federal student aid, and they downsized a lot with offering certain grants and certain loans to certain proprietary schools, which is what I used to do. So when I was laid off, I was just, at home, and someone bought me an art kit like 10 years prior because I just mentioned I want to paint. Someone bought me an art kit. I'd never used it, never opened it. And I just happened to be sitting at the dining room table and pulled out a piece of cardboard and pulled out that art kit. And I just started to create. And after I started creating, I started sharing what I was creating on social media. And when I started to share the things that I was creating, people just started to respond to those things.
Wow.
So again, I just didn't have that same type of experience that Adrienne had, which I think is a beautiful experience. It's awesome. It's just something that I didn't have as an artist. So
It shows the contrast too, because you know she had the support and she had some creative people in her life that were encouraging and nurturing that side of her. But then in a lot of times in our experiences, those things don't necessarily exist. We
Yeah.
have to find them within ourselves or in any way we possibly can. The spark is in us, but we just don't
Yes.
have the security, you know, the network of individuals to support us.
That's right. That's very, very true. And I really just hope that the things that I'm doing and the things that my children see, you know, hopefully they'll have stories like Adrian has one day to say, my mom really inspired me. She was a part of this great group and this is what they did. So this is what I am now carrying because of that. You know, I think that it is awesome that Adrian had, you know, her Nana and aunties. That just sounds like I should have been a part of that family.
But you know, it does open doors to opportunities to our young people to understand that, you know, it's good, number one, as a community that we support creative individuals within our grasp. And that's proven through what Vivian shared what Adrian shared with us. But then what you're sharing with us also proves that, you know, you don't necessarily have to have that to come out as an artist and be successful. And I guarantee you, after what you accomplished in your project on Brookside, people are gonna, your young people in your family are gonna have that to look forward to. And I'm sure it's gonna inspire other great opportunities in your life as well. Warren?
Yeah.
Tell us about it, man.
I think I was really connected to art in school. You know, I think that's where I got a lot of my just that time with art to realize I was really connected to it. I did it in art class, and I wasn't the best student, so I did it while you know other classes was going on just because I was bored. That was just I always doodled. You know. You know, my grandmother was an artist, though I didn't have a relationship because she passed away early. And so I don't really remember the memories, the times that I had with her, but I do know that she was an artist too. So it was something that I was always connected to. But my art journey, I feel like I remember it is really just a personal thing. You know, I've never really been connected with too many people in the art community, any collective, any organization. So it's just been, you know, by myself. And it's because of just, you know, going through mental stuff, mental illness. It kind of inspires you to cave yourself in, to you know, just distance yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, you know, and art was that thing that brought some light into my reality when I was just going through a lot, you know. And so art was that way to express my obsession, because even through my artwork, I've expressed it so obsessively because that's how my brain works.
Right.
And so my art life is so intertwined with how I feel about myself, how I think, how I operate. And so it's just really been a really personal journey. But my mom has been someone on the spiritual side, like the mental side, in the art side, that has always been there supporting me.
You know, it's good that you bring this up, because in our communities, there wasn't a lot of support for those of us who chose art as a path.
Right.
You know, what a lot of our families and friends didn't understand is that we didn't choose art; art chose us.
Right.
And we were just simply trying to find our way in it. And you know, it's important that people understand that artists do see life differently. And when you don't have that support network in place to help you maneuver the nuance of experiences that come into your mind and how that affects what decisions you make and how people react to that, it can lead you into dark places. But it's so good to see that you found the light through all of that, and that light became your expression, and that expression is so beautiful and vibrant in color. thank you for sharing and being willing to open up that way, because I'm telling you, I've worked with a lot of young people out there, and Harold, you probably know this as a teacher, you know how many of our young people out there who don't get to express their creativity, and how sometimes that eats away at you, and you have to help them find the path that's right for them. Tell us about your story.
Well, I basically always painted and drawn. I've got some artwork around the house that I did when I was in kindergarten. I still have some of it. Actually looks a little bit similar to what I'm still working on. In the late 90s, I had an exhibition at the public library, and that's how I got started exhibiting my work. And then things just basically went from there. About that time, the internet was
Non-existent.
yeah. No, around 2000 is when I started using eBay and other online places to put my art up online. I think I had my first website in 2000, and so it just kind of went from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian, I cut you off earlier because I was asking you to tell us a little bit about your challenges. You know, I don't know if people know the full story about how we were selected to do this project, these 6 murals, Black Lives Matter murals. We all were selected by some individual who walked up and said, hey, you know, we're going to do this project, and it's going to be a mural, and it's going to be on the street, and would you be willing to lead our portion of it? And we're all kind of like, well, yeah, you know, but did we know that we were talking about something that was a block long, you know what I'm saying? And it had all these people involved in it, and you know, all of the things it took to make that happen. And then not having done something like that before had to be a eye-opening, mind-opening experience too. Can you tell us a little bit about that from your perspective?
Absolutely. So initially I misunderstood what she was saying. Okay. Let me make that clear. Initially, I thought she meant we were all gonna work on it as Black Space Black Art together. Right? That was and I'm like, oh, that'll be cool. So like one person, like Warren will have black and Vivian will have lives that matter. That's in my mind, that's what I thought she was saying. And then she was like, no. Like you get your own block. And so I was like, okay. Like, and you know, my heart kind of picked up a little bit. You know, it flutters a little bit because it's something new and you're being stretched, right?
What was the largest canvas you worked on prior to that?
Canvas, it would be, I think it's a 36 by 48, whatever the largest.
Maybe I should say the largest painting you've ever worked on prior to this one.
It would have been a wall in the church, and I do not know the dimensions of that wall, but I was assisting the teens in painting this mural in a church.
Okay.
And so that was the largest space, but it doesn't have anything on the space that mural went on that street. So I was like, okay. I knew I was nervous, but I knew it was an opportunity, and I've been taught to accept opportunities, and I've been taught that sometimes you have to do things scared.
Right.
Absolutely. Right? You can't allow fear to just like bind you up and stop you from doing something great.
Yeah. If you're not scared, something good's not about to happen.
I was just like, okay, I can do this. Okay. So I need to design the mural. Okay. But the more we met and the more we talked, I'm not going to say it completely went away because it's an unknown, right?
Right.
So I always kind of like, but what if this happens? What if that, am I capable of doing
right. Of doing this thing?
Yeah. And so it was always that.
When did you actually did you actually go down, and after you became aware that this was what you were going to do, and where, did you see that street in a whole different light when you saw it for the first time?
like
When you do
before
that.
I painted it.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, so initially I thought black was gonna go in front of that soiree section, and lives was gonna go in front of the museum, and then matter was gonna go in front of the Alvin Ailey, that area, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's what I initially thought. I said, okay, this is gonna be big.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was told it was just in front of the Jazz Museum, so that took a little of the edge off.
Yeah.
So I just kind of looked at the street, and what provided, I guess, that calming factor was knowing that I wasn't doing it alone. I wasn't going to be doing it alone.
Right.
It was going to be a group of people that was going to be there doing it with me. I had a great project leader. I didn't have to worry about volunteers or anything. I specifically had to worry about the art and the execution of that and what that looked like, which is no different than teaching in a classroom. So that part, I got that. I can man the troops.
And I should say that in creative placemaking, usually as an artist, not only do you have the challenge of looking at the space and coming up with the concept and making sure it's applied, but then you also have that responsibility of selecting that person who's going to manage the process for you, to make sure your volunteers, the people who come and want to participate, find access, that they get the supplies they need. Your task is a real challenge. I'm gonna come back to it. I want you to be thinking about some of the things that surprised you that day when it first started. And Vivian, I'm gonna ask you to share with us your experience. What was the thing that shook you up about this project when you became aware of what it was you were being asked to do?
Well, pretty similar to what Adrian described. When we first got the call, first we are all, well, actually, Harold, Warren, and Adrian and I were a part. Warren, Adrian, and I are still a part of a collective called Black Space Black Art. Harold is a former member, but he still is pretty active with us. So being that we are a part of this collective, we got the phone call at the same time. So we were all on the call together with Natasha Elskari. And I kind of misunderstood what Natasha was saying initially also. Initially it was, Black Space Black Art has this opportunity to paint this mural together. And I'm like, perfect. Yes, I got my feet. Like, we can do anything together. Like, that's my thing. Like, as long as I got my folks, good, we can do it. We're going to knock it out. It's going to be bomb. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to have each other's back. Like, where she's weak, I'm strong. Where he got it, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yes. In this thing, we're gonna do it. And then she was like, no. You each get a block. You have your own block. And I was like, what? Yay!
So when
oh my God.
Off the block you was gonna be at.
I'm gonna do this, like, just me? Like, what? So I was really, really, really like freaking out. Like, I was not gonna be like, nah, go help Adrian. I was not gonna say no. But my anxiety went, like, I immediately went into, what do I need to do? Oh my gosh, how am I gonna get this done? What do I need to do to start? What do they need from me? How does it need to like, my anxiety was off the charts. So we had a meeting. We ended up, I called Adrian. Y'all listen. I called Adrian.
Shoot it up, y'all.
And I was freaking out. I was like, I have never done this before. I have never done a mural before. Literally, honestly, the biggest that I have ever painted on was a 36 by 48 canvas. Like, my mama didn't play that drawing on the wall stuff when I was a kid. Like, we're not doing that. I've never done anything bigger than that. So for me, I was like, what did I just agree to? This is a huge responsibility. And if this is trash, I'm going to look so foolish. It's going to be crazy. Adrian said, first of all, nothing that you do is trash. We don't produce trash.
Oh, what a good support. Yeah.
First of all, we would never let that happen. So don't even think that. And I'm like, okay, you're right.
Okay. This is
Okay.
a good transition. Warren, tell me about your experience.
I feel, I feel kind of redundant because I feel like I'm just about to say the same thing, but that's really what it is. When you're given an opportunity that's challenging, you want to predict, you want to imagine how it's going to be, and I've learned that we kind of put our own understanding and our own experiences and our current perspective on this challenge, on this opportunity that we've never had before. So our mind is going to naturally limit ourselves, And so the thought of it was scary because at first I thought it was going to be all together, but when I found out that we wasn't, I just immediately thought about how I am not equipped for the job. I was just, it was too much pressure. It was too much pressure at one moment. See, I tried to imagine how something's going to go. I tried to, and I couldn't. And
it's just wonderful to hear this. I wanted this on the record because, first of all, you guys all did something remarkable, but at the same time, at the point in which you came aware of the fact of what they were asking, I wanted people to hear that because there's young artists out there who this same opportunity might come to someday. And I want them to know what you all went through.
Yeah. It was fear. It was fear. But the one thing that I knew that gave me strength was that we weren't together, but we were still doing it together. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I punked out, then I feel like I'm leaving my collective. You know what I mean? And it just felt uncomfortable for me. I felt like I had to say yes. I had to say yes to the challenge. And I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful that I felt like I had to. And I feel like it came to us in the way that it did because it was meant for us to say yes, be challenged, and grow. And that's exactly what happened.
That's it. Thank you, Harold.
Well, my experience, when I first heard about it, the project, I think I had a pretty good idea of what it was going to involve and include. It was just, for me, the only thing that was really kind of challenging is because where my mural's at, it's kind of a little bit of a curve. So deciding on how to set up and design a mural to go into that space was a little bit challenging. But other than that, everything else was pretty easygoing for me.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, I should share with you that, and I'm not going to go into too much of the experiences that I've had, but what I do want to share with you is some insights that I went through in the process. And I was in a position to kind of see what you were all going to go through before you actually went through it. And I was lucky enough to be close enough to Chrissy and Katie and their partners, like his name escapes me right now, but to know a little bit about what their process was. And I knew that the process they had in place was going to at least present to you the materials, the supplies, the network of support, but ultimately it was going to be important that what needed to come forward was that desire within each of you to create a work of art. And that desire that was within you to create that work of art was so strong that it drove you through that barrier, that hurdle that you had to overcome to get there. That right there, in my opinion, was the most remarkable thing. It also opened up some doors to some curious questions about what does it take to do something on this scale. because you know, I don't think people really fully understand what you had to do, and I don't think anyone would ever understand what you had to do unless they had to do it themselves. You had to come to grips with your limitations, your abilities, your expectations, the people's expectations of you. All of that played into this. Adrian, I'm going to come back to you again, and I'm going to ask you what surprised you. What was the biggest surprise you experienced in this process of creative placemaking?
I think I was surprised, not at the willingness of the people. I knew people would show up to be a part, but the rate at which they worked. Like I would have never thought that someone would take like my vision and care for it in such a way and carry it in such a way that like we didn't have to fix mistakes. Like everybody was very purposeful. Everybody was very dedicated to making sure that the vision was executed in timeless, like it was, of course I had the smallest mural too. So let's be clear. It's not that,
no less significant.
No, you know, it's not that, because we did get finished in the one day, and I was so shocked that we got finished in just one day. But it's just a testament to the people that arrived, the AIA, and how they came in and they were adamant about getting those letters down and them being precise. And then the drawers, the first round, they came through and drew the information in, and they were precise and measuring and taping it off. And then the painters came in right on time, and they're rolling, and it was just, that was amazing to me.
You watched
that
it.
amount of dedication
Yeah.
for somebody else's vision and executing it so seamlessly and so fast.
Vivian, what surprised?
So for me, I agree with what Adrian is saying 100%. I mean, it definitely surprised me just at how how careful people were to get it right. But what really surprised me was just how my mural actually touched different people. When you're out there and when you're doing what it is that you're doing, when you're painting it on the street, you're just working.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wanted to get it done. I knew we had a very strict time frame that we had to get it done, and in my block was humongous. I mean, when I first looked, before any paint was put on the street, and I stood at the end of the block to look down at the other end of the block of where this mural was gonna stop, was like, I don't really need binoculars, but God, it's huge, right? So to think of getting all of that space covered in the amount of time that we had to get it covered, it was kind of intimidating. But after it was finished, or even while we were working, we were just working for the letter at a time. We didn't start at the B and go all the way down. We worked at whatever letter was available at the time.
Right.
The very first letter that we were able to complete was the first L in black. Mm-hmm. That particular L in my mural has a list of names of victims of police brutality. And those names, because it was the first letter finished, mm-hmm. It was the first thing that people really, their attention was kind of drawn to it because it was the first one, right? But it was also, I think, one of the most powerful letters there. And what kind of surprised me, and maybe it shouldn't have surprised me, but just the emotion that people displayed, not only the emotion when people were painting the names on the street, but also the emotions of the people who were walking up to stop and read those names. Mm-hmm. There were people literally in tears on the street with mm-hmm. those names being read. And that, again, it maybe shouldn't have surprised me, but it really did. The amount of emotion that people felt in public, on the street, in front of us all it really was touching to me, and it really did surprise me.
Hey, Warren. What hit you, man?
What hit me, man? Well, man, what hit me? I think just people working together. It was a moment where I was working because I'm so used to doing it myself. I know that wasn't possible for this. But it was times where I found myself trying to do it instead of directing. It's like, okay, let me,
Mm-hmm.
and and just reminding myself that I have a collective of people waiting, and it's times where I'm working on something and then maybe I get so caught up in my work and I look up and I see a group of people working on the same project. I had that feeling a couple of times and I never get that experience because when I'm working on my art, I look up and there's no one but me,
Right.
but to look up and say, oh, I'm not the only one working. I'm not the only one making sure this gets done. It's a collective of people. And I had a couple of moments where I kind of, in a way, kind of forgot
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
the people doing it with me. And to see how they showed up, and then my team, and then the team that worked that helped me really direct people showed up as if it was their project.
Right.
Like they were the art lead, like this is their design, blah blah blah. Like that's how much it mattered to them. And then just the appreciation that people showed. They really showed that, like, you can tell that they were people were coming from their heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really it was touching, and people really, I had a lot of good moments where people would look at me right in my eyes, just saying how amazed they were. And then one more thing, my mom really cried. Like when I say cried, she cried. Like she was just overwhelmed just after it was done, to be able just to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it touched her, and that response actually helped me even take it, take it for what it was, because I was so consumed with the job of,
Right.
And so it was good to be able to see, like, wow, we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You almost made me cry just then, man.
Dang, that's what I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to do. Like, these kids, it's a little bit more emotional.
Harold?
What stands out to me was the camaraderie of the people, and for a lot of it, at one point for several hours, I was the only person of color up there, and the audience, we all worked together, and there was a lot of camaraderie, and so I mean, it was that all kind of spoke to me.
That had to be interesting to look up and see that you was the only one. It was that had to be a whole entirely another level of experience.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, I didn't feel like an outsider, though. I mean, I didn't feel like, I think it did feel comfortable, and that was good. And we had a few hecklers, some people drove by and cursed us out. So one guy even stopped his car and went up on his grassy hill just so he could cuss at us. And the response of the people that were with me working on the mural was pretty good. They just kind of didn't even engage him. It was very interesting.
We lost Warren here. He'll probably try and get back in here in a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of you there, Warren? We got a steal of him. It's sad that you had to experience that, but it is not uncommon. And we all knew going into this that we were going to be touching a sensitive nerve out there, but also that same element existed on the other side, because what we experienced collectively was the deep sentiment of supporters who come from all walks, who believe in what we were trying to do and wanted to be a part of the history and the message. Something that I wanted to touch on in respects to everything you've said up to this point, and it's a part of my own observation because I've done a number of these before. You back, Warren?
I am.
Okay, turn your camera again. See
Well,
if-
it's
Oh, we got you. We got a side view of you here for some reason. We need to get your. There you go. That'll work. Something that I want to touch on that you experienced that you may not have known what that was as an art facilitator was that there was a tempo to creating a project on this scale.
Mhm.
And it resonated with all 6 projects. And no matter how minimal you think your contribution may have been, understand that the tempo that it took to manage the volunteers, to manage the project from beginning to end came from each of you. Walking back and forth and telling people how great they were doing and patting them on the back and letting them know how proud you were of them and hearing them tell you how proud they were of you, but you giving it back to them again, that kind of stuff. That is what set the pace. That's what made your project successful. That's what creative placemaking really is. It's about I like to call you an art strater, art administrator, the person that basically sees the project from the hawk's viewpoint, but can swoop in and kind of make those calibrations in motion that are necessary to achieving that final outcome. I noticed that during the day, and you'll experience this in your next project, which I'm sure will be a big one, that a friend of yours will pop up and they'll want to talk to you for an hour, right? And you're trying to stay focused on the flow because you got volunteers coming at you and they want a spot and they want to be able to paint and they want to put that energy into your project, but your friend want to have a conversation. But see, what you were feeling was your desire to stay connected to the project. Even though you didn't want to offend your friends, you knew that you had to stay connected because you were the umbilical cord. You were the thing that was feeding this thing to make it so that it could achieve that 1 day, 2 day success. That is part of creative placemaking. It's the flow, and then also you set the tone for the emotion. The emotion that went into the project from you is what you got back from the people who participated. Your loving smile, your humbleness, your willingness to embrace every person, that resonated throughout the day until that project was complete. And that's also the essence of creative placemaking. We did a project up in Topeka on Brown v. Board. It took 2,000 people over 3.5 months to paint. And in that process, all the things you experienced in 2 days had to occur. You had to have somebody find those people. You had to get them on the ground in front of you, and you had to assure them it could be done, even if you wasn't sure it could be done. And you had to maintain that flow throughout the process, even though you probably on those hot days felt like you was about to pass out. I don't know if anybody else felt that. I felt like I was about to pass out on the first day.
Me too. Hey, I was done for. I felt, oh man, I felt
I
sick.
literally had to sit on the side, put a cold cloth on my neck because I knew, you can almost tell. I've never passed out before, but you can almost tell when that point is coming, and that point was coming.
I stepped into the restroom. We had a lady have a heat stroke.
And I think I was about to have a heat stroke or something, but I kind of stuck with him. Luckily, I'm going to go back to this point because I want to get back to you guys again, but I want to come back to your team, because the team you had working underneath this whole process, the team that you encouraged, the team that you nurtured through the process that made it happen for you. I want to talk about that team in a bit. What did you learn from doing this project? What thing, if you was to point to one thing, and I know there's many, But if you was to point to one thing, and I'm gonna tell you straight up, I've done these before, but I learned some stuff on this project. I learned some stuff about artists because I always thought I knew artists. I thought I could take on any position, any program, any project with a handful of artists that just wanted to do some art. And I still believe that. But you guys take the cake. And so, and the reason I say that is because I knew what we was walking into. But y'all just kind of thought y'all knew what y'all was walking into. And y'all had y'all's little network that was you. And then that rug got yanked out from under you. And yet y'all stuck with it and saw it through to the end and accomplished something that's never been done before anywhere that I can at least point to and say 6 major projects all in the same day, 6 different locations in the city like satellites, and all of that sentiment is being echoed in all 6 locations. Never been done. What did you learn, Adrienne? What did you learn?
Ooh, wow, I learned a lot of things. I would say I learned that if I can do that, I can do anything. Like I'm just saying, like I can do anything. And what you said earlier about us being like we were the one that were fueling it. When I arrived that morning on 18th and Vine, it was trashed.
I heard that.
It was so trashed. It was food and it was raining, so it was wet and it was sticking to the street and it was just trashed. And I could have allowed that to give me a really negative perspective on that day. I'm already going into the unknown. Mm-hmm. And I saw it and all I knew was I have to execute something. And so I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make sure it happens. And I was the only one there at 6 in the morning. Like I showed up, I got dropped off. I had them drop me off and keep my car. And I was the only one there. And then one of the city workers drove up and he was in his truck. And all he was supposed to do was blow the street. And that's what he came to do. And so I just started picking up trash.
Right.
Like I'm thinking like it's COVID, this stuff is nasty, but and I just started like just not knowing that I have the ability. Like I know this, but I really know it now. Like you have the ability to be in a negative situation, a situation that is not set up for me to succeed, and still overcome it, still do what I need to do, and still make sure that I am fueling the type of energy that would keep it all in the up and up. It got to the point where it was like a machine.
Yeah.
So if my lead saw something and she wasn't happy about it, I'm like, it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. We're going to keep it moving. You know, and that was just my whole vibe. So just even being able to recognize, I know that I can get through hard situations, but something like that, the unknown, and like,
that was the lesson you should have taken from it, is that you can do anything you put your mind to. You know, even if you believed it in the beginning, you really believe it now. Vivian.
I know it now. I know it. I know that if I, like they used to, you know, they have those little corny sayings, if you can perceive it or if you believe it, you know, they say those things.
Yeah.
Because it's positive self-talk, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
In your mind. So as a man thinketh, so is he. If you can see yourself doing it in your mind, you can manifest it. So
and all the others will come along with you because they came there and they looked to you.
Yeah.
To get them to the end.
Yeah, artists. And people I didn't know, but people that are well known. And they were like, one of them told me, her name was Catherine. And she was like, she didn't know I was the lead artist. And we were like laughing and
right.
She was like, can I stay with this letter the whole time? I said, you sure can. I said, the fact that you said that, let me know that it's gonna be the bomb when you get through. But you know, just I can do anything.
Vivian?
I think one of I think one of the things that I learned in this process is really, I had to learn some things about myself. Like you said, just going into the situation, thinking that we were going to be doing this as a collective, and then learning I was going to be doing this as just my individual self, was really scary, but still pushed through that. One thing that really stuck out to me was the fear of it. I don't know if people really understand how real the fear was for me. I got a message from my project lead about threats that were being made on my particular site. That, of course, people did not want to see this mural on the street on 63rd and Brookside, and they were going to definitely do something to stop it. And just to have the conversation with my project lead about how real the threat was, and how there were people's names that were actually named for these threats. And it was like 2 days before we were scheduled to go out here and do this.
Right.
And initially it was like a little uncomfortable for sure. But then when the names were named, it became more real.
Right.
And just the fear became even more heightened. So in that fear, now I'm like, okay, in my head, I'm like, Vivian, what are you gonna do? You're either gonna let it scare you still, or you're gonna do it scared. Not scared like scared that I can't get it done, like scared like if you go out here, you may not go back home.
Right.
Like scared. So I had conversation with Natasha. I called Natasha Elskari, and I was like, okay, so this is what is being said. And she's like, well, sis, what are you thinking? I said, well, my first thought is F them. I'm gonna anyway. This is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
But to be a realist, I'm a mom. I have 3 sons. So if I go out here and I don't come back home, what does that mean for my kids? This message is important, but what about my kids? You know, so she said, well, sis, I really feel like you have your mind made up, but you know, just talk about it with your husband, and whatever you decide, I support it. So I did have a talk with my son. He's 15. My son typically is not entertained by my art at all. He is like, yeah, okay. Well, I did have the discussion of there's a threat. It's very real. Do you want to come or not? If you decide that you don't want to come, I appreciate it. I understand. But mommy's gonna go because I feel like I have a responsibility. And my 15-year-old replied with such confidence at 15 that I'm going. No, I'm going. Mind you, he's bored. He don't want to go nowhere that has to do anything to do with my art.
Right.
But this particular thing, when I said there's a threat, I have a responsibility, I'm going to go. And my 15-year-old, with all the confidence that he had, said, I'm going.
Yeah.
I then even more so said, we going. And what that taught me about me is just the courage, the amount of courage that I had to go. And when the next morning came and it was raining and I still went out there, and not even the thought of the threat crossed my mind, it was just about, we're gonna do this. We're getting this done. Let's get working. And we had hecklers too. We had people drive by. We had people screaming and hollering. But even in that, the work, the tempo, the pace, like you were saying, Michael, just the energy of that day, those days, the energy of the community, the energy of all the people that came out there to support was so strong. That taught me that not even fear of death can stop people from doing what is right, from doing what is morally needed, from doing what the community says, we need this.
Yeah.
When the community
and they needed a vehicle. They needed a
Yeah.
vehicle to make it possible. You guys provided that vehicle. And so it's important to note that, because each of us had to grapple with the reality of the fact that something could happen. The sad thing is that it's not real until it is.
Right. Right.
In people's minds, it's not real until it is, and then all of a sudden, real seeps in, and you just have to deal with the fallout from it. But at some point, we had to find the courage. When we did Brown, the guy asked us, because the mural was 30 feet high and it was 130 feet long. And when we got asked if we would do it, the response was yes. And then things moved forward from there. And then one day I was having a conversation with the man who owned the building. And he said, so how many of these have you done? And I said, this is the first that would be on a building 30 feet high and 130 feet wide. Well, it blew his mind, because he thought I was gonna say, oh, I did 10, 20 of these, But what people don't understand is that a masterpiece is only created once. Mm-hmm. So you don't have something to look at. You basically are embracing that moment, and you're doing something that's never been done before. And the first time it's done is the first time it's done. And that's what each of you did. You did something for the very first time together in totally different locations.
I would say that it's amazing at how many people will doubt a situation. How many people will tell you this cannot be done. I literally had someone say, you are not going to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. And it shook me. Right. I said, oh my God, why do you think that? He was like, you're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have enough people. If you would have 2 weeks, you could do this, but there's no way you're going to get this done. And it moved me to change my design. Right. But when I spoke with Chrissy, I was so like, Chrissy, look, trust me, we can do this. We're going to do it, and we're going to get it done. When Chrissy asked me to trust her, I just told myself, I'm going to do that. I'm going to trust her. If she says we can get it done, I'm going to trust her, and we're going to get it done. Because like Adrian said, we don't make no mess. It's not going to be trash. So we're going to get it done. And that's what I did. I was able to trust people who made good on their word, and we got it done.
Warren, what did you learn?
What did I learn? I learned that when it's time to show up, you have more, I have more, we have more inside of us than we remind ourselves. We perceive that we're less capable than we really are. And this opportunity, it just taught me and showed me once again, because I continually get reminders that you have so much more than you know, than you think from. And it just showed me that just being present, when you allow yourself to just be in the moment and give all that you have in that moment, you can really achieve and do some things that you never thought. And sometimes it takes moments that show you, and this was a moment that showed all of us what we're capable of. And, instead of feeling the need to think about it, imagine it, more so just be in the moment. Yeah. And up, and it just taught me that it's okay to dream big. It's okay to challenge yourself because of what's inside. And this showed me. And without this, maybe I wouldn't have believed as much as I believe now in myself, Mm-hmm. And it takes situations like that. And that's why I'm really grateful for it, because it showed me that the moment's going to come when it's time to show up. And even in doubt beforehand, when it's time, you will surprise yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. You got a chance to actually experience.
For sure.
Position.
And experience is very important.
Yeah.
And experience, you really start to really embrace it, surrender to it, the more you actually experience it. And this was an experience, and it was a blessing. Yeah.
Errol?
I think the thing I learned is kind of a lot like what Warren was saying, is that you just let yourself go, let go with the flow. you know, a big project is really just a bunch of small projects put together.
Right.
And so, and the mural was like that. It's really just small blocks of color here and there for the one I designed, and it all came together. So basically, that's what I learned. That's what I learned. But listen, Michael, I'm gonna have to go ahead and exit. I've been up since 5.
Nah, man, we can't have you go nowhere, man. We'll put you on a respirator, or we'll, you know, whatever, man. No, I feel you, brother.
My eyes are getting heavy.
Well, look, we really appreciate you taking time out to be part of this conversation. We are at the 9 o'clock mark, and I do have a couple of other things I want to ask before I let the rest of you go, if you got a few minutes. But Harold, we don't want to let you go without letting you know how much we appreciated creating history together with you.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate working with all of you.
Now, and we gonna take this with us no matter where we go, man. This is something we share.
That's right.
And Brother Carlos has made it possible for us to make this something that's out there for anybody to receive and listen to and learn from whenever they click on their computer. So I want to thank him for giving us this opportunity to share this common experience, this thing God gave each of us, this jewel that he put in each of our crowns. I want to thank Brother Carlos for letting us document it. He's going to put some really cool photography and video with this. It's going to be tight, and it's going to teach a lot of people a little bit about what it takes to accomplish something like this. So thank you, Harold, for taking time out of your day and being a part of this experience with us.
I appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
We're going to see you on Saturday, bro.
That's right.
We got some work to do, man. We got to make a wrong right.
That's right.
All right, my brother. Take care. Get some rest.
Thank you.
Peace, Harold.
Peace.
So what I'm going to ask you to do real quick before you bust out, and this is a hard one because it actually asks you to revisit for a moment what we accomplished. And there was a lot of nuance to it that you may or may not have been aware of, but it's all part of the anatomy of creative placemaking. And so I'm going to ask you some of the things that you think made it possible for the project to come off a success. What are some of the things you think it took to have a successful creative placemaking project, such as the one we all experienced? No matter how small, how big, no matter what you think it may have been, let's list a few of those things, because I'm sure that those who are out there who've never done this, just like you've never done it before, are going to be curious about what it took. And I just want to have some kind of a list out there that they can go back and review that will help them understand what we had going for us when we took this thing on. So let's just, I think I'm gonna start with you, Adrian. Give me 3 or 4 things that you think it took.
It took creativity. It took organization. It took collaboration. It took unity.
Vivian?
I'm going to say that in combination with the things that Adrian just mentioned, it definitely took the community, like the help. It took the people. It took my artistry team that I put together. I asked other artists who had already had experience in doing murals and who were actually experienced artists to come and help me. I also think it took us having the assistance from the architects that came out and taped off these letters to make sure that everything was straight, so there wasn't sloppy or crooked, or like, that was huge. That was huge. Once that foundation was put down there, it made it a lot easier for my art lead team to go in and do what they needed to do. It took the money. It took the finances to be able to afford the amount of paint that we had to use, the amount of rollers, the hand sanitizer, the face mask. We really had to pay for a lot of equipment, and we ran out of paint 3 times. 3 times, and a large part of that was because of the heat and how quickly the paint was drying. Because the paint was drying so fast, it went on a lot thicker than we had anticipated, which means we had to use a lot more than we had initially thought we were going to need to use. So we were running out of paint faster than what we thought we were going to run out of. So, I mean, money was huge part of it that we needed. We just needed the team, and I think it all worked. I think because it was a machine at the end of the day. I think for every mural, every street, every location had a team, and they had a different team. And because those teams came together, those teams worked, and we got it done. We got it all done. I mean, I cannot imagine it going any better, other than us not running out of paint. Right. I just don't think it could have gone any better. It was great. So,
hey, Mike,
Warren,
Mike, Adrian, and Vivian, it seemed like they named everything, and now you got Warren.
he can squeeze something out.
I tried to just give words. I was like,
Warren did help me. Warren, if you want to, just elaborate on that. That was needed.
Hey, I don't need help. I got it. I'm cool. Let's do it. No, what I felt was needed was communication. I feel like communication in different areas of life, period, in every area is imperative. And when it's a large group of people working together to complete a common goal, a project together, it's communication is imperative. From the people that's directing and the people that are coming just to volunteer. Everybody needs to communicate, because even with the letters, you need to be able to communicate with the other artists that are on your letter. You know what I mean? So being able to get there and being able to talk and express and take direction, that's very important, because you're coming, people had to come and recreate the design that's already done. It's not like come and do your thing, do your favorite designs and your favorite subjects. No, you had to do according to what was already planned. So you had to really follow directions and respect what was in place and be able to take the journey in that. You have to, it's really, when you work in a collective, you can't just go out and just do your own thing. You have to work together. You have to,
especially as sensitive as this was. Yeah,
you have to make sure where you are placing yourself is where you are needed, so you have to make sure you talk, you ask, so communication is huge, and really being able just to work together. What else was I about to say? And just really being able to be patient, because in the different things that people do, you never know how patient people are, how quickly people go through things, and how they just want. And really, when you're rushing, you don't pay attention to detail. Right. And so really kind of being patient, and even though you want to hurry up and get it done because you see all that needs to happen, you still have to understand that it's a process, respect it, and be patient, and make sure you're doing what you need to do in that moment. It can be.
It took a lot of patience on all of our part to see.
Yeah, I had to respect that I couldn't do everything, and that, right. and also let go of being a perfectionist. Being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Needing things exactly how I would prefer it, because
despite all of that, you could look at the aerial view and see how beautiful
Exactly.
Came
It
out.
shows you that it doesn't matter all the little things. Like, it just makes you look at what's most important, because it's easy when you down doing the painting, doing the marking, to look at all the details and say, okay, that's not how I wanted it, or that's not how I had it on the design. But really understanding that it's not about that. It's not about things being perfect. It's about us working together. And just the fact that we were so involved in the details, but we were able to see it pan out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have a different perspective, and even the imperfections all come together and work to create the masterpiece. That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
It's like a masterpiece doesn't have, it's just not perfect. There's imperfections, but those imperfections work together and create something really beautiful. And I think that's what happened.
I'll do you one.
Just piggybacking on what Warren said, my site again ran out of paint 3 times, and every time I got a green, it was a different green. Every single time they went and got paint for me, it was a different color than what it was initially supposed to be. So I needed to be flexible in my design. I needed to be an artist also in that moment, because the design that I initially had was not the design that I ended up with, because on the spot, in the moment, I had to be an artist and figure this out. You need to figure this out. You got to make it work, because I'm not going back to the paint store and waiting another hour for this paint. So we're going to make this work right now. That is absolutely important when you have a project that is that big. As an artist, you're going to have to not be narrow-minded in your design. As Warren was saying, you have to be able to think on your feet, think on the spot. I mean, Adrienne, bless her heart, finished her design, and she came over to my my mural to help me. And the was blowing so hard, it blew a whole thing of black paint over onto my mural, and it was black paint everywhere. She was like, "Oh my God, think." And I was not worried. I was not concerned. I was not freaking out. She is an art teacher. She don't get it. She's gonna fix it. It's gonna be fine. I'm not worried about that. But when I have a 5-gallon bucket of green paint that is not green, the green that I need, that can freak you out.
Yeah.
Until you humble yourself, calm down just a little bit, remind yourself that you are an artist. Make this work. And luckily, I had a great team that was also flexible. They were not stressed. They were not freaking out. And we made it work. We made it, and nobody knows but us of that craziness out there. Because when you look at it, it's perfect.
The thing I want to share with you is that everything you listed, and it doesn't really have an order, but everything you listed are elements of creative placemaking. All of it.
Add trust.
Everything you said. Organization, collaboration, unity, creativity, community, the people, the strong leads, the architects, the money, the paint chemistry, the team, communications, encouragement. These are all elements of what it takes to have a successful creative placemaking endeavor. There are some things that are nuanced things that that you have to also put into your toolbox. Sensitivity. Artists that lead large groups of people to a project goal have to have an abundance of sensitivity, because people come at you everybody's different. And they're going to come at you with different attitudes and personalities and needs and wants and concerns. And you have to basically change your face every time to meet that need, to keep that flow going in the direction of the masterpiece. And the one thing I want to tell you that I've identified in my experience in doing projects on this scale and of this type is that the masterpiece is not the piece at the end of the process. The masterpiece was the way you worked with all those people to do it. You didn't get a chance to paint your picture. You didn't get a chance. You got a chance to realize it because you designed it, but you didn't get a chance to paint it. But what you did get a chance to do was take all those people who came to help you realize your vision, like a brush and a palette, create a major work of art that you put your name on. And knowing that those people gave as much to you as you gave to them to completing that process. I want to thank each and every one of you because this conversation could never have taken place if you hadn't been so giving of yourselves. And I knew that each of you had this in you because of what you accomplished. I want to thank you for that because this is going to be a gift to anybody out there who ever faces this same challenge again. They'll have each and every one of you. Each of us have a different experience and a different memory. And I think between all of us, they got a little taste of it all. They got a little taste of what every artist out there is going to experience from one time or another if they make that transition. Because you guys have made a transition and it opened a major door for you. And the door that's been open for you can never be shut. You will take this straight into heaven.
Word up.
I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for your effort and your work. I promise you this will not be your last endeavor. People are going to start coming out of woodworks looking for y'all. And because of Brother Carlos, this message is going to be resonating out there in the stratosphere for them to be able to look at it and say,
10 different countries, and it's going to on our What's Up Worldwide network. That's real. We're the only Black-owned digital media company in the Midwest, and we have the largest audience. And this is something, to me, is worldwide. It's just not U.S. It's never been done. When I talked to Mike about the project, and he gave me some of the details about going to D.C., what the project was designed to do for the community and bringing the community together, I think this is a monumental process, and it really should even been better documented than what it's being done. But I think it was such on the fast pace, and I don't know whether it was spare the moment, but they say timing is everything.
they're still catching up to it. They're still catching up to it. But I thought that what you offered us was a chance while it was fresh in our minds to remember what we went through and to talk about it so that no matter how much further we go, we'll always have this to go back to remind us what we did.
I haven't seen nothing this beautiful, really, and I'm 69, in my lifetime that represented Black people. Maybe you talk about the museum in DC for Black people, but I'm saying this ranks, in my mind, this ranks high up on achievements of Indigenous Black people, awareness. It goes to the soul when the pictures and videos that will accompany this interview that Mike had sent me. I'm saying, I was stunned, Mike. Every time I opened up one of those pictures that you gave me, I was like, oh boy.
I gave him most of your stuff, and feel free. I think he's probably got a lot of your work that you sent me. I tried to send him all of that. And so while you're talking, he'll bleed some of that in while you're talking. And then he's going to show our video from the Kansas City Star, because they did the aerial view in the beginning when we were working. And then at the end, there was this piece. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it was a piece that they had the gospel song attached
That was
to.
beautiful, that piece.
That was an aerial view of all our murals. And that's going to close us out. And so that's what people will see. So you'll get to see, when he sends me the link, I'm going to share it with you all. I want to thank Chrissy and Damien and Katie and all of the coordinators that helped bring to the table the volunteer network.
Row of credits to any
right on.
And all of that, the whole package of who was instrumental in making this happen. And if you do have, I don't know whether you took the names of some of the people that worked on your projects, we'll roll that, put that into it also.
I don't know if everybody's done that. I did that at my site because I've done that on previous projects. I just basically signed people in and then designated them locations. So I can roll. What I may do is say, we want to thank some of the volunteers and just let that be attributed to all of us.
All right.
So we'll just run a list of volunteers. And if y'all have names, y'all can submit them to them. We'll just incorporate them and the name list will just keep going. So do you guys feel pretty good about what we accomplished today?
I do. I feel good.
I do. I think it was a great conversation. I do.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much for
it.
participating. And I'm sorry not everybody was able to, but I think what we've all accomplished as a group of 6 speaks for itself. I think we kind of put skin on the process as a group tonight, and I'm looking forward to continued opportunities for us to find ways to get together. Brother Carlos is talking about having a talk show that comes on frequently, and I hope that I can reach out to you all from time to time and invite you to come and speak and talk about what you're doing and what's going on with you and updates and that kind of thing. And make sure you keep pictures of everything you're doing, not just your artwork, but the interaction, because what you learn most about this is the interaction. I want interaction images because I want people to learn about how we've developed our skills in that ability.
And when he does this story on you, he wants to have plenty B-roll.
Well, I'll say this. One of my students that worked on the mural that Saturday, she was responsible for a lot of the measuring of the keys, the piano keys.
Oh.
And so she applied to be a part of, I think it's KC Project.
Yeah.
She got hired on as a muralist.
Wow, fantastic. And I think you guys are going to be getting some taps from other places too. Keep that.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to do something.
Yeah, I know. And with COVID, it's going to be hard for us out here for a while, but there's some opportunities developing. And so as those things present themselves, we're going to make sure we try and keep this family together. Okay?
Hey, Warren, you ready like Freddie?
Ready like Freddie.
Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Carlos, for making this happen.
Thank you, Carlos.
In closing, as I always close all of my programs, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right, we have stopped recording.